Tommy's Time-Twisting Tales, The Mysteries of Stonehenge. Chapter 1, The Time-Twisting Begins. Tommy was always curious about the world. His bedroom was filled with books about history, maps of distant lands, and little trinkets from different cultures. But among all his treasures, there was one item that stood out, a small, glowing orb he found in an old shop. He didn't know what it was, but every time he touched it, it made him feel like he was standing on the edge of something extraordinary. One evening, as the sun set and his room filled with shadows, Tommy held the orb in his hand, gazing into its shimmering light. Suddenly, the room started to spin. The posters on his walls, the toys on his shelves, all of it blurred together until he was no longer in his bedroom. When the spinning stopped, Tommy found himself in a completely different place. The air was cool, and a soft wind rustled through the tall grass. As Tommy looked around, he realized he was standing in a vast field under a starry sky. In the distance, he saw something huge, massive stones arranged in a circle, standing tall and ancient against the night sky. It was Stonehenge. Tommy's heart raced with excitement. He had read about Stonehenge in his books, but being here, seeing it with his own eyes, felt magical. The stones seemed to glow faintly in the moonlight, and Tommy could feel the mystery of the place surrounding him. He knew this wasn't just an ordinary field. He had traveled back in time to ancient Britain. Chapter 2, Arrival at Stonehenge. As Tommy walked closer to Stonehenge, he marveled at the size of the stones. Each one was as tall as a house and as wide as a car. He couldn't believe people from so long ago had moved such enormous stones to this spot. How did they do it? And why? While Tommy pondered these questions, he noticed he wasn't alone. Figures appeared from the shadows, slowly approaching him. They were dressed in long robes with hoods that covered their faces, and they carried torches that flickered in the wind. Tommy realized they must be druids, the ancient priests of Britain who were said to have built Stonehenge. One of the druids, taller and older than the rest, stepped forward. He had a kind face and wise eyes that seemed to see right through Tommy. "Welcome, young traveler," the druid said in a deep, gentle voice. "You have been brought here for a reason. Stonehenge holds many secrets, and tonight, you will learn some of them." Tommy nodded, eager to know more. The druids led him to the center of the stone circle. As they did, the ground seemed to hum with energy, and the air grew thick with anticipation. Tommy knew something amazing was about to happen. Chapter 3, Unraveling the Mysteries. In the heart of Stonehenge, Tommy stood surrounded by the ancient stones. The druids began to chant softly, their voices rising and falling like the wind. As they did, the stones around them seemed to come alive, glowing brighter and brighter until the entire circle was bathed in a warm, golden light. The tall druid pointed to the sky. "Look, Tommy," he said. "Stonehenge is not just a circle of stones. It is a giant calendar, built to mark the passage of time and the changing seasons." Tommy followed the druid's gaze and saw the stars shining above them. The stones of Stonehenge were perfectly aligned with the stars and the sun. On the longest day of the year, the sun would rise directly over the heel stone, casting its first light through the heart of the circle. "It's incredible," Tommy whispered, amazed by the precision of the ancient builders. "But how did they do it?" "The people who built Stonehenge were guided by the stars and their deep connection to nature," the druid explained. "They worked together, using their knowledge and skills to create something that would stand for thousands of years." Tommy was in awe. He realized that Stonehenge was more than just a monument. It was a testament to the power of knowledge, teamwork, and respect for the natural world. Chapter 4, A New Understanding. As dawn approached, the druids' chanting grew softer, and the glow of the stones began to fade. The tall druid turned to Tommy and smiled. "Young traveler, you have seen the wonders of Stonehenge and learned some of its secrets. But there is much more to discover in this world. Remember what you have learned here about the importance of working together, of respecting nature, and of seeking knowledge. These lessons will guide you wherever you go." Tommy nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He had learned so much in just one night, and he knew these lessons would stay with him forever. As the first light of morning touched the stones, Tommy felt the world begin to spin again. The ancient stones, the druids, the field, they all blurred together until Tommy was back in his bedroom, the glowing orb still in his hand. Tommy smiled to himself. He had just been on an incredible journey, and he couldn't wait to see where the orb would take him next. With a yawn, Tommy climbed into bed, his mind filled with images of Stonehenge and the mysteries he had uncovered. He drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the adventures that awaited him in the future. And as Tommy closed his eyes, he knew that with each new adventure, the world would always have another mystery waiting to be discovered.